afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started with Philadelphia Union head coach Jim Curtin in just a moment. I am going through and giving recording permissions. If I miss you, please put it in the chat, and I will get you through there. After Jim's opening statement, we will go into questions. Please use the raise hand function and keep your eye on mute unless asking a question. And I think we should be good to go. And I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. No game to reflect back on this week. So obviously a good 10 days of training where the guys competed very, very well. Set up an inter-squad game on last Friday where we replicated both New York and Cincinnati. Obviously it becomes clearer now what opponent will play. So again, really proud of the group to get into the final eight. Recognizing now that you're 3 wins away from lifting MLS Cup is something that these guys have worked very hard to put themselves in a position to do. Had a lot of records this year and accolades and all the goals against and goals for and the win total is all nice, but this group only wants one thing, and that's to go out on the field on Thursday night and get a victory and start our playoff run the right way. So again, tough opponent coming in Cincinnati, one that we know very well. They also know us very well. Sets up to be a great matchup. They played a great game against Red Bull, and Pat's done an incredible job this season with everything there. Chris Albright obviously has built an amazing roster, and a lot of the familiar players on the field share a lot in common and work together for a lot of years. So a lot of familiarity, but once the opening whistle blows, it's 90 minutes where we're competing against each other to try to move on.
Thanks, Jim. Jonathan Tannewell.
Thanks, Erica. Hi, Jim.
Hello.
How important is it right now that so many of these guys were on this playoff run last year? So they know what it takes at this time of year, and they have succeeded at it.
Yeah, I think that's very valuable. I think that helps every experience you have in this game and playing in the biggest moments, whether it's cup competitions, whether it's Champions League, whether it's elimination playoff games. Those are great moments to learn, to understand the intensity. I think you've seen already in the playoffs. I'll just say the games look a lot different than the regular season. Teams are, there's more intensity. There's more caution to not make a mistake. You see the teams that are organized and not making mistakes as the ones that come away with victories. So playoff soccer looks a lot different than regular season soccer, and it's good to have some of our guys to have multiple games of playoff experience behind them. And also, again, have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder just from how last season finished with 11 guys missing the game due to COVID. So it's a whole new season, a whole new approach, and we're really excited to get started at Subaru Park.
I think it was 2 weeks and 2.5 weeks in 2019. It was 3 weeks plus in 2020 and 2 weeks again last year. And now it's 10 days, and this is the one that everybody's been waiting for, format-wise. How much of a difference has it made to have a little better rhythm?
10 days is a lot better than 2.5, 3 weeks, that's for sure. Again, the schedule's difficult for the league. It's really hard to get right with timing and international breaks and all the different windows, but I think they did a great job getting this format ready for what will be a great playoff run to MLS Cup, and then obviously setting up for the World Cup after that. So, again, 3 games away now. I know as crazy as that sounds, we've been on many 3-game winning streaks this year, and now it's time to try to start another one. We respect the opponent very much. They're a great team, especially in the attack. So we also have a great defensive team, so it'll be a really good matchup. And at home, the onus is on us to play our way.
Ben Crooks. Don't think we have you, Glenn. Might still be muted.
Okay.
There you are.
There we go.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Jim, this matchup against Pat in Cincinnati, from a tactical standpoint, it's 2 teams that seem, it's apparent that they're more comfortable out of possession, and One thing I noted your game at Cincinnati is that you did outpossess them, which is a fairly rare end of game statistical category for you. Do you see that as a tactical dilemma at all? It makes it kind of interesting.
Yeah, look, I think it's two teams that really play well in transition, two teams that scored a ton of goals this year and are really, really dangerous. So that part of things is definitely true. I think it's two teams that are comfortable without having the ball, but can really hurt you in about 3 to 4 seconds. They can go 60, 70 yards and punish you, and the ball's in the back of the net. I think we're both like that. So yeah, in some ways, we know each other very, very well. We do play different formations. I'd say the one similarity with both teams that fortunately isn't played by the other 26 teams is that we both play with two strikers almost all the time. So, and I don't think it's a coincidence that we both score a lot of goals. If you look at the rest of the league, for the most part, it's with wingers or one striker or one guy by himself quite often. Occasionally, some teams will sub at the end of games and play with two strikers, but I'd say both of our base formations involve two strikers. So tactically, that is the one major difference between the two teams compared to the rest of the league. I think philosophically, we both believe in that and getting your attacking guys, multiple attacking guys, as close to the goal as possible. It leads to, when you do turn teams over and win balls, you always have two guys to play to up there. So similar in that regard. I think we both play a little bit different, and we defend a little bit different. So our group, will have their hands full for sure, but we did defend really well this year, and we'll have to be at our sharpest to stop a really dynamic front three and a really good team in Cincinnati.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jordan Stress.
Jim, what's the latest on Ollie and any other fitness concerns ahead of this one?
Yeah, Ollie's working like crazy to get back to help the team. It'll be close for the game, and it won't be as a starter. I can say that pretty confidently now. He's just not quite ready to be a starter in a game like this with the intensity that's going to start with having been off now for 5.5 weeks. It's challenging. So he's working very hard to build and maintain fitness. It'll be close for the game. Hopefully he can help us, off the bench in some way. But overall, at this stage, it's going to be too tough to start.
John Luca.
Jim, Andre was nominated for the MVP award. I know that Kai and Jack were also nominated for Defender of the Year, but just talk about your feelings about Andre, especially a goalkeeper in this league with so many great players, Chicharito, Driussi, Arango, and looked over the other finals. Just talk about Andre and him being nominated for MVP and the recognition that he, quite frankly, deserves and gets being in such a field with so many other world-class players like that.
Yeah, look, I'm going to date myself here and call this the modern era of the game, and this isn't a disrespect because I have a ton of respect for Tony Meola and the last guy to win the MVP. But at that time, I think there was 10 to 12 teams, I want to say, when the award was won as a goalkeeper, which is no small feat at all. But right now there's 28. So Andre, to separate yourself and be recognized as a goalkeeper is incredible. Like I've talked about, I think he'll win Goalkeeper of the Year. But to be in and amongst the finalists in Mukhtar and Driussi, obviously, and Andre, and the others, and the one that they missed, Daniel Gazdag, it's incredible for him. So, I'm really proud of the season that he had. His defense in front of him worked their tails off to play a role in Andre getting the recognition. But to see where he's gone from a draft pick to a best 11 type goalkeeper to an all-star to Goalkeeper of the Year and now being talked about as an MVP just speaks to how great of a player he is and how lucky we are to have him here in Philadelphia. So a real winner, and he's become such a great leader in our locker room. Love working with him every day, and a truly special talent.
I know that obviously you're focused on the game against Cincinnati, but I'm sure you've been able to catch some of the other matches.
Of course.
Yeah, two of them went to shootouts. One was 1-0 and the other one was Cincinnati winning 2-1. What do you think it is that having so much experience with the Union and getting far in the playoffs, being at the top of the Eastern Conference, what do you think it is that separates that makes a difference in these type of matches? And I know that Cincinnati just won a match on the road at the against the Red Bulls, and they do have some experienced players, but do you think that maybe getting this far and being in these situations before, do you feel like maybe that gives you a little bit of a slight advantage having been through this more than Cincinnati?
I think, look, working hard for home field helps, right? I think in our sport in particular, when it's a one-off game, it's not a best of 3 or a best of 5 or a best of 7. It's one game. I think every coach in their right mind would prefer to play it at home in front of their own fans. So that is a huge advantage that you work for all season to get. We recognize, though, that Cincy's capable of scoring goals against any team. So we have to be at our maximum. We're also a pretty darn good attacking team as well. We're comfortable in our building. Again, you have eyes on all the other games, and I've watched every minute of every playoff game. And I'll say it again, the games look different than they do during the regular season. It's the intensity, it's the work rate of players, it's the smallest mistakes and get really magnified now and you get punished. So, because all the teams are good. We're in the final 8. I know it feels weird because we haven't played a game to get here yet, but we earned the right to be in the final 8. And there's no bad teams left. You look at it and every team is capable of winning it. And every team is capable of losing. So we recognize and respect that. We know it. And we know that, yes, the 34 games tells one story, but in the playoffs, it's always different, and it's about getting hot, a little bit of luck at the right time when you need it, and your team doing the things that got you here as perfect as possible during the 90 minutes or maybe 120 minutes.
Joe Lister.
Jim, you've played Cincinnati twice this season. I think it ended with a 1-1 tie and a 3-0 loss. Is there any concern that
3-1, but 3-1. I remember the games.
3-1.
Yeah.
Is there any concern that they have your number a little bit?
Yeah, that's the thing everyone is going to talk about for sure. Because they're a good team. Just like any good opponent, they're capable of scoring goals. We're capable of scoring as well. I think there's something to the fact, like I talked about before, tactically, we each play with 2 strikers, which is, you don't play against that much in our league. So that's something that we've talked about in film, different ways we can kind of tweak and cut out service to those 2 strikers who are so dangerous, things we can do with Acosta to try to minimize his touches on the ball. And really work to cut out the entries into that front 3 because they're very good. So again, really good team. But yes, I do remember the other 2 games. I was there.
Larry Henry.
Hey Jim, thanks for the time. You touched about FC Cincinnati's attacking trio. What's the hardest thing, looking at the film on them to try to shut them down? Obviously, Lucho Acosta's runs the show in midfield.
Yeah.
Brendan Vasquez is having a stellar year, and Brenner is obviously up for a few MLS awards as well. What's the toughest thing looking at them on film to try to keep all 3 of those guys in check? Because between them, 46 goals between them, the only trio higher is your trio with Daniel, Julian, and Mikel.
Yeah, look, all season 2, they're 3 center backs. They've played mostly out of a back 3, have done a great job. The 2 holding midfielders are really strong. And then their wing backs, and Barreal and Alves, and then when Ray comes in, are also very, very dangerous. So it's a real team, a complete team. But you have to try your best to limit where Acosta gets on the ball. He's the type of player that will drift all over the field. He's very good at getting open while your team's in possession. So it's not just Jose that needs to do a good job cutting him out, because if it's just Jose and Jose follows him all over the field, all of a sudden the passing lanes in front of the center backs are wide open, and Brenner's pretty good about coming off of that back line and creating problems. And Vasquez is a real handful. He's got a big frame, good at holding the ball up, also has the speed to get in behind, like you saw in the goal they scored to beat New York. So they're a really, really well-balanced team. They're very well coached by Pat. But yeah, again, it's 2 good teams getting together at the end of the year in a playoff game. But we certainly are aware of just how good they are as an attacking team.
Thanks, Jim. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Final 2 questions will go to Todd Lewis and Jonathan Tannenwald.
Hey Jim, the last week and a half, you guys have been talking about how it's 100% guaranteed whoever you face they'll have all the momentum after a big playoff win. How important is it for you guys to just set the tempo in this game against Cincinnati and make sure that they don't make it a end-to-end game?
Yeah, look, in some ways, I don't think a ton of people picked them to do as well as they have. I think I'm not that surprised by the work that Chris Albright and Pat Noonan have done because I'm very familiar with them and they're winners. But when they do win that first playoff game, now they're playing with the house's money, and that's a dangerous thing. They have confidence, right? Like I talked about, them coming in here with confidence. They're brave, they're a good team, and they're not afraid. So we have to do our job to limit their chances, to be very strong defensively, to win the battle in both red zones. And we know, like many games this year, they're one-play games, So hopefully we're on the right end of that play. We know that we'll create chances at home over the 90 minutes, and hopefully we can be clinical in front of goal.
And we'll wrap with Jonathan Tannewald.
Thanks. Two quick ones. First of all, Jim, I was visiting the Sixers. I saw you were mingling with a noted soccer fan over there.
Yeah, it was great. Doc Rivers, great guy, awesome guy. Really excited for them to start their season. It was nice. Shared some stories about just coaching and different things in life and that kind of stuff. But then Joel came down and talked to Gazdag and Bedoya and myself, probably for a good 35 minutes straight of just his favorite teams. He's an Arsenal and a Real Madrid fan. Obviously has some friends that play in that league. And just in talking with him, I can tell you with confidence, he knows the game about as well as anyone that I get to talk to on a daily basis. He's really tuned into it, has a future once his NBA career is over as a coach or a scout in soccer because he was really impressive with his knowledge of the game. And, everybody knows the big name players, but they don't know why certain players fit at certain clubs and in certain formations, and was really detailed and dialed in on that. So that was really cool. I knew he was a fan because he's been out to our games before, but to see just how in-depth he could go and speak the game was really impressive.
And also, we all of us will inevitably ask questions over time about guys who are new to the MLS playoffs who've not had the experience before. And you haven't got a lot of newcomers, but with Michael, he hasn't been in these playoffs, but he has been in playoff games before in Denmark that are of similar to consequence to this. How important is that for his stepping out onto that field Thursday night?
It's huge. Yeah, he understands, and a lot of times for the foreign players, it is a new experience, a playoff experience. Luckily, he has some cup competitions. He has the Europa League that he's played in, so he knows the significance of the moment. He knows that if you don't play good on the night, it's over. He's probably a little bit more used to an aggregate home and away, but we've worked hard to get home field advantage, and it's 90 minutes, and the loser goes home. So I think he's up for that. I think he's excited by it. But yeah, you're right. It is going to be a little bit new to him, but the rest can share in and give him the details of how fun it is to win these types of games, how fun it is to win an elimination game, especially in front of your own home fans.
All right, thanks so much, Jim. Thanks everyone for joining us, and hope to see you guys out on Thursday.
Thanks.